thank you to our friends at VVS for sending us the outfit for review. The film is directed by Graham Moore, and it is out in theaters this week. Like we said, it stars Mark Rylance, Zoey Deutch, Johnny Flynn, Dylan O'Brien, Nikki, Amuka-Bird, and Simon Russell Beale. This film is... it was an interesting film because I don't think it was really on any of our radar until very recently. I think, did we talk about this trailer on the show at all?
Nope. No.
I don't remember us talking about the trailer at all. But yeah, I'll read you a quick little premise for it. And I guess because this is like a condensed version of our review, we'll just kind of give our first reactions and immediate recommendations. So Leonard is an English tailor who used to craft suits on London's world famous Savile Row. Savile Row, right? That's how you say it? I'm going to say it. After a personal tragedy, he finds himself in Chicago, operating a small tailor shop in a rough part of town where he makes beautiful clothes for only people around who could afford them. A family of vicious gangsters. I'll kick it off. This movie is not what I was expecting. I think it has it's deceiving in its first 30 minutes of pacing because it's very slow. It's kind of getting all the players introduced. It reminds me a little bit like of a stage play because we are in one location the entire time. We do not leave the tailor shop. But once the movie does get going, I think things start to really get interesting. And I'm like, oh, you know what? There's a deliberate pacing to this. Graham Moore is pacing this slowly because he really wants it to feel like it's constantly building and building and building. One thing I will say that I loved most in this film was Mark Rylance, because I think he's just he outclasses, I think, everyone that he ever shares a screen with, because he is such a great actor and he could do so much with doing so little. But I will say, because of that, anyone else who was in the scene with him felt very out of place. This movie is supposed to take place in the 40s, right? The 30s, 40s, right?
It takes place in the, I want to say 40s, because they refer to World War II.
Like the first, yeah, they refer to the war, right?
Like the end of World War II.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, everyone else in a scene with him, they felt a little out of place. They felt a little out of time. Shay and I were talking, we have this thing of like, this person looked like they've seen a cell phone before. And Mark Rylance, I believed, has never seen a cell phone before. But everyone else even to this day, but everyone else in this movie, I think they just kind of carried themselves and had to look to them like they were out of time in this movie. But I actually did really like, the drama and the action as it was kind of ramping up. And I think there's some really great moments in this film. But yeah, I'll let you guys talk now.
Go ahead, Shay. Go ahead. Okay. Yeah, for me, I wrote down a bunch of notes while watching this film, and I personally just found the movie just very flat overall. I mean, I mean no disrespect to Mark Rylance at all. I think he's a phenomenal actor, but just sometimes he just kind of he's just boring. Like, he kind of really bores me sometimes, and I wish there was more to his acting. I wish there was more to his delivery, but it just wasn't doing it for me. And I think the opening dialogue in the film just feels like a nature documentary, the way he's talking, very slow. Dylan O'Brien, he is one of those people that he has seen a cell phone, and his face did not match. And when I think he was putting on that, Chicago gangsters kind of accent, it felt a little hammy at certain points.
Right.
The movie really tries to create this tension, almost like a Hitchcock, a rope, where it's just pulling you in, and it's very much like a stage play, like you mentioned, Daniel. But when everything kind of finally starts to unravel, some of the moments get kind of silly, and I think like there's moments where a character is about to reveal a big point, and then someone interrupts them, and it's like, okay, well, this is so typical. It's a consistent roller coaster, the way that the pace is kind of moving. At certain points, it just kind of feels like they're trying to pull the rug out from under you, where there's just another twist being thrown here or there. And it gets to this ending where you're like, why didn't this person do this from the beginning? Like, they kind of had the means for it. Like, they could have just settled this all, but I don't know. For me, it dragged on way too long. And I remember when I thought the movie was done, I kind of got up and I was like, oh wait, no, there's still time left. Never mind. Let me just sit back down.
there's definitely a moment in this film where I'm like, okay, we have to be close to the end. I'm like, oh wait, there's still 40 minutes left in this. And I was like, wow, okay. Something else I wrote in my notes here. Mark Rylance reminds me of the guy who comes to fix Woody in Toy Story 2.
Very much so.
Yeah, that was another note I had in my
He's
notes.
for display purposes only.
Yes.
Anthony,
how about you?
I always thought Rylance was out of place in Ready Player One. He just didn't look like the guy who would build, the Ready Player One environment. It just was super out of place. But I know Spielberg, and he thought he was best for it. But I enjoyed the film.
BFG as well too. He was in BFG as well.
Yeah. Was he the animated?
The big friendly giant. Yeah.
He was the BFG.
I like the film. I really like the opening sequence in which Mark Rylance's character is a cutter who builds and designs suits, and there's a lot of I guess they focus a lot on that being a part of who he is, and it seemed like this guy was he took a good chunk of time to learn how to sew and learn how to build suits and cut it. I just found that part super interesting. But then getting into the whole story of this mobster safe house where they drop envelopes and a lot of the backstabbing, a lot of the things that are happening in this one building. I kind of got into the story. I wasn't wowed by it, but I found it interesting. I found that there was parts of this story that were, I didn't see that coming, especially the end. And then there are parts where it's oh, that didn't work out for me. You're right. Yes, a lot of these characters feel like they're not from that time period or weren't in the presence of that time period, so it just felt out of place. But I thought everyone did a good job, and I thought, for a movie, I don't know if this would be a movie you would go watch in theaters, but something to watch on the weekend, I would definitely add this to my queue.
Yeah, I think for myself too, add this to the queue. I don't think it's something you have to run out and go see, but I think it will find a home and it's definitely an interesting watch once it does come on a streaming or on wherever PVOD on home. I think it feels like a Sunday afternoon movie. If I could relate it to a day and a time, that would be like a Sunday afternoon film.
For me, I'm going to say skip it. I didn't really leave with much from this movie, and I don't think that there's a lot to kind of see in the film either. I think there are much better films out there that probably deal with gangsters and close-knit environments a little bit more. But yeah, for me, it's going to be a skip it.
Thank you so much for listening to the Movie Podcast review of The Outfit. Don't forget, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday. We have a new episode out right now that you can listen to, and make sure you check out all of our reviews throughout the week and all the latest movies and series, because we have a lot coming. Make sure you follow us at The Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Letterboxd, and YouTube. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Discord, and write into the show at hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca. Check out our show notes for all of those links and more. That was This Time with The Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.